Now, if we can get potentially one safe leaked out of you today.
I feel like I already have. I feel like this happens every single time, and then. Okay,
No,
what do you
this
want
one for
to?
real. Alright then. Welcome back. How are you doing?
Nice, good. How have you been?
Good, good. Excited. A lot of news. Nervous, but a lot of stuff.
Yeah, true.
You're gonna say like, even though I have nothing to do with making the game, I still feel nervous for your guys' sake and hoping everything goes well and that it all
I
moves
appreciate that.
smoothly for launch and etc. So patch we had wasn't the biggest, but still some like talking points and questions and etc. I got from other people.
All right,
The first
let's
one
go.
on the block then also being account unlocking. This is a
That's
hot,
right.
the hot topic of the patch. Like starts with the big one. I hear a lot of mixed messages, but like the problem for my sake is that the only like feedback that I mostly heard is from people that already played the game and like have unlocked all this stuff and don't really go through this progression. I haven't been able to see or read much about new experiences in general, so I can't talk from that side. But
we actually saw
yeah,
also just to build on that,
yeah.
we actually did see new players retain better with this. So I have to say, I'm like, I am a servant of the people. I'm like, I am looking at that mostly, but you should keep going too. And I have a couple notes at the end.
Yeah.
Anyways,
No, so
yeah.
like, what I think, like, I have some personal notes, but also some good notes from other people in the way this has been unlocked. I understand why it's being done, and like as you're saying, if it's helping for attention, I think it's a good thing. I think the main thing that I've heard from people in general is the question about why keep daily and weekly missions behind like the level unlock and last and the other one being like why keeping a mechanic out after you get ranked. Most people would expect, like, for example, custom games and ranked mode to be like one of the last things you unlock when you learn all of the basics. So it feels weird to have a thing by the game unlocked after those things. So you start with ranked games, but then there's another mechanic after you've unlocked ranked. And then like the thing
I
with
don't
daily and weekly
see
missions.
pictures
Those
of
were the
the.
main things that are like so mostly off.
What was the last one?
So like daily and weekly missions being locked at all behind levels,
Yep.
and then like having mechanics locked after having access to ranked and custom games.
Right. Yeah. So the 2 points I wanted to mention. One is I think for anyone who is straight up a new player and this is like their first experience, it's probably not like they have no comparison point. So
Exactly.
from the like for them, we've generally seen it's like been pretty good because there's a lot to learn. And so kind of getting doled out information has been helpful. I will say one thing I actually have noticed are people who are playing the game before the account unlocks, and then the account locks happened, and so they're now reset to not having some of the things in the game. So I think the people who are like trapped in that like twilight zone
Yeah.
are that's probably the weirdest experience. I was actually gonna follow up on that note. I was talking to a few folks about it, but I think that's probably the weirdest part. And then on the execute and finishers, the other note that I put down, I got some good feedback from folks too on that. So one, yeah, I think that being at the end is kind of weird. I think the other weird thing is actually that you can buy um, cosmetics for something that you don't have unlocked. So that's also weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've also wanted to follow up on that. And so I think on multiple accounts, it's probably a strange thing to have at the end for those reasons. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna follow up with the team on that. And then for daily and weekly, yeah, I actually see that. I also got some good feedback around this, which is like, hey, to progress through this track, it's actually helpful to kind of have daily and weeklies be sort of that guiding force. And so it can feel strange to not have those be available from like level one. So yeah. Anyways, that all to say, there's that, and then I don't even think it gets mentioned here, but we had like it's not a bug per se, but experientially, when you get a hunter token, you don't get any ceremony for it. And so there's things like that too that we'll probably want to support. So, anyways, those are all the things that I've gotten. I super agree that there's some like finicky parts that we probably want to address with the track itself. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's like the main things. Like I can't really say. Yeah, what the last question I actually had for like this series, like when you are a new player, how does it look when you do unlock these kind of things? Like for example, when you're new and you unlock like level 4 abilities, what kind of information do you get, and how do they get introduced to the new things that they unlock?
So we have like an explainer that we have with some of the nodes. We've also, for gameplay objectives, like what we wanted to do is over time add more new player tooltips. So we do have support that we're adding to just like kind of pop up. There's like a pop up that comes up for some of these things too. So yeah, I think we'll continue adding those to more parts of the game. But the explainer is the main thing. Is like node, when you unlock, here's what it is.
Do you have like any videos or anything attached to it?
I don't remember if it was a video. We at least have an explainer. I only saw. I don't recall. I need to double check. We plan on having videos for a couple of them also. So
yeah, because like just like visualize, I think that can help like a lot. Like what I would imagine myself that I can think of from other games is like you unlock this thing and then you see like, for example, with level 4 abilities, you have a level 3 ability, you use that, and then you have one screen where you see like, oh, this is what it does with level 3, and then you have other screen, oh, but now it's level 4, blah blah, just to get like a visualization of see what it does and different, and especially like with the power slot, I think is important, as you guys talked about, and I talked about it with Bell. Like, how do you get players to actually use powers more? Because it's really fun, but people don't use it as much. So having the power screen when like, oh, you unlocked a second slot, here's some like video examples of powers, like things you can do, and I think that would help a lot for new players, at least the visualization of when you get it unlocked.
Yeah, and that is the flow, and my hope is also that we can like have like maybe localized VO that kind of explains it regardless of what region you're playing on too. So yeah, we're doing some announcer pickups, and I think probably supporting those would make sense. Also, because we're updating the tutorial, which I think a lot of folks have thought maybe the tutorial, this is like our version of onboarding, and I think people thought like, oh, are you doing this? Why don't you update the tutorial, Fivehead? And we're also updating the tutorial too. So yeah, but I think in a similar way, we are working on a bunch of like VO guidance, video guidance, and I think it's a good call of just like making sure that we do a pass on all of these and make sure everything has a visual explainer. Yeah.
No, but that's cool. Anything else you wanna add, like that we maybe not know? Like a lot of veterans and people are playing that don't really maybe understand or have seen this system, or like it's mostly positive. Yeah, it's mostly positive from the newer side that like, you guys can tell.
I think for true new players, seems like it. I think for people who are in that, like, again, like that gray area, it was probably kind of weird.
The Phantom Zone.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that part, I'm like, I want to see if I can fix it. And then, yeah, hey, is this what onboarding is? Is this where you're stopping? It's like, no, we're actually investing a bunch into onboarding outside of this too. And a lot of that is going to come in 1.0. So yeah.
Makes sense. All right, cool. Moving over to balance. The balance part is short. And a lot of the comments, like, not to go too nitty-gritty into the balance in general, like, first important note is like people are at least really happy about Eva, from what I'm understanding. Nice. Feels like it's playable, people like enjoy playing her, feels like in a good state where you can actually do something with her. Doesn't feel like, some people saying like her healing is too much. I think a lot of people are just gotta get used to playing to destroy the RMB, but seems positive overall. But a lot of the questions I gotten around balance in general, since there's been a lot of like small patches, is your guys' thoughts around how you balance, and for example, like thoughts on mixing things up for the sake of mixing things up instead of like having everything balanced. Of course, we'll have like the solo queue genre, people playing trios together, scrims, etc. Like you have a lot of different stuff. So the first part of the question is basically like, how do you guys balance? Is it like across every board? Is it like mainly focused on solo queue players and trios? Or is it still focused on like the 3v3 playing together aspect? Or is it then a good mix of everything?
It's weighted primarily towards, so we look at two slices. We look at average, what balance looks like average for the average player, and then what balance looks like for high MMR players. For high MMR, I believe at some point we even look at like very high MMR players, so like top 5%, then top 1%. And sometimes the meta shifts pretty drastically across those bands. But in addition to like pure balance, like win rate, we also talk about a lot about frustration, especially nowadays where it's like, hey, like when we balance, there can be certain characters that are frustrating to deal with, and so even if you balance them to a win rate that's reasonable, they still could be super frustrating to play against. And that means if they're kind of like subject to the game state more so than anyone else. So like patch by patch, you could still feel like they're frustrating, or they're like more sensitive to game state changes. So I'll just say Brawl and Jin tend to be those hunters where it's like, hey, they weren't meta for a while. The instant, even though we made a couple of changes, the instant that this last patch come out, they're like pretty strong again. And so addressing not just the win rate, but also thinking about their play style and your ability to kind of have conversational combat, trying to address more of that. So, anyways, that's all to say. We do mostly look at the overall player base at different skill bands, and then for scrims, I actually do watch quite a bit of scrim games. I never tell you guys because I'm like, I don't know, say anything, or I don't know, change the meta or anything. But we do watch quite a few games, and there are moments where we will watch and then we'll see something, we'll be like, that looks a little broken, or we'll talk to people afterwards. Sometimes people will have anecdotes around like, hey, we ran into like this abusive behavior for a long time. It's kind of painful. So I would say that's more of an input just because scrim behavior is so specific and coordinated, and that's not going to be most players' experience. And so what we don't want to do is put a hunter into the ground that wouldn't normally be that for most players. So I think we got to be careful about that, which is why we use it as only one input, I would say.
Because the follow-up to this kind of leads into the change for change's sake. Because what a lot of people feel like, from at least the higher MMR people, I can't speak for the lower to mid average ranges, but that the meta feels very stale, that the changes has been so small and there hasn't been big changes, that you kind of just recycle the same things over and over. So if we forget the fact that, a lot of people have their biases of, this is very, very broken, but then it's very broken for a very niche audience. But you also take into fact, like, what if we just mix things up for the sake of mixing things up, because people are ending up playing the same things over and over, not because it's going to be the same thing for only one small amount of player base, but the better people get at the game, the more people will end up in that bulk, and then also the game will be more stale for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the truth is that group is not running into the majority experience, that are probably experiencing a lot more hunter diversity, just to be totally honest. But that being said, like, I think next patch will be more substantive. We have done like a bunch of changes. I think I'm seeing Mithrin of Arrows, and I'm seeing Oath. I don't know if you guys are talking about b-hopping, but some spoilers on things that we're looking at for next patch. So yeah, I think we're basically going to be hitting the top hits that folks have been reiterating in the community, and so I think this next patch will actually feel a little chunkier than usual.
With the new hunter, it's gonna be like a big swing, so things will mix up a little bit.
I I think he'll be a really interesting option to consider in his range profile. So yeah, I think so. I in the same way where I think about uh like the Shrikes and the Ghosts of the World, where it's like you can pick up and play, but there's like I think there's like quite a bit of depth to like the aim gameplay. I think this character specifically will be a great option for the players who really like those hunters and be someone to consider instead. So yeah, I actually do think so. Yeah.
We're just gonna hope and pray then. We'll see. Guess the cooking. Hoping for some big changes. Yeah, so it's more so like, of course, it's hard to argue the thing back and forth with like what is broken, what is not broken, with like a small player base and a lot of different groups. But I think, like, personally, like, not thinking about what is broken and not broken, but also just mixing things up for the sake of mixing things up to get people to discover other hunters can be good as well. Like quote unquote, not like murder, but like kind murder to some hunters to like, oh, okay, let's boost up some other hunters, like let's mix up in a month time, like having it a lot more back and forth. Because I do also think with a lot of the smaller changes, like for example a patch like this, I don't think this impacts realistically, like you can see win rates going up and down in lower mid MMR, but the changes doesn't really impact by the way the games are played for their sakes. So having big shifts that might impact higher MMR, that doesn't impact negatively, at least, to lower mid MMR, can help them progress into that tier, but also keep the game fresh, which I think is good.
Yeah. I think one thing that came out of the video that could be less or more clear is our focus on balance. I think with the shift of kind of prioritizing 1.0 and having some of the new content kind of saved for 1.0, the priority is going to be more on balance, bug fixing, that spit perf. And so I think you'll start seeing some more movement. Like that's why I'm saying the next patch it's like worth checking out and seeing that balance patch. We're also talking about hunter reworks too. So there's a couple in there that are in the works because there's some amount of like, is it, to your point, is it sufficient to do things via numbers, or is it going to make a bigger difference if we sort of sharpen some of the character's identity or make some of the frustration points, like actually address them systemically? So I think we'll want to spend a little bit more time there for these next few patches.
What kind of reworks are we looking at? Like some
I have
ability
confirmed
changes?
on Discord that we are looking at Hudson and that we are looking at Jewel. We're experimenting here, so I'm not going to say like, hey, we're gonna come out with these like on a certain date. But yeah, those two we are exploring right now.
Interesting. Noted. Appreciate that. Alright, cool. Over to system vision cones. Now you see further. I haven't noticed this like a lot. I think it's fine overall. Probably helps. I haven't heard any complaints. I haven't heard any praises either. I think it just like kind of happened. People are okay with it. It kind of just was in the patch, not a big deal or anything. So I think it's fine overall. What was like the reason behind it? Is it more so like, do you get complaints about people feeling like they don't see a lot, or is it more for testing's sake?
This was for testing. I mean, like we it's less about vision cones I in particular, and actually we haven't really seen this move the needle too much. It's like probably marginally better for some of these areas. This is another teaser. We'll probably pull this back actually. Because while we saw some marginal improvement here, it came at the cost of performance. And so, I never want Server Perf to kind of come into conflict with a player's general experience. Maybe we'll bring something like this back. We'll see. But yeah, I think similar to your vibe of like, yeah, I don't know if I noticed too much, so
it kind of happens.
I'd rather have better performance,
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. We have some quality of life changes, hunter destructible damage. It seems good overall. Kind of thing that happened. You kind of feel the impact here and there in certain aspect. Doesn't change a lot.
Yeah.
Some people that got more destructible, clear destructible damage. They also have yeah. And then enemy tunings. This is like with sound effects. I think this is very good. Some complaints have been about like the clarity of like what you can hear. For example, you can hear Myth ult from like 3 screens away, like so, and then like a Bebo comes ulting onto you, but you have no idea it's happening. So like,
yeah.
It's like the balance of that. So I think this is a very good thing. Probably would like to see more of this to balance out audio in general. I think this is very good. Like, for example, as I mentioned, like Myth ult is so weird. Like it's so loud. Like you can hear it so loud.
Myth ult is too damn loud. Tom kick.
Yeah,
that's just that message to our sound guys right now. They actually really appreciate that. If there's more specific call outs too, these came from literally our sound guys like scrubbing Discord. So if you want to just save me some time and shortcut it and have a couple of call outs, I'm actually down.
It's good. So if you guys in chat have any comments about that, let them know now. All good.
Yeah.
Tool tips. This is great. Like just updating overall. Heard some complaints here and there about things not being up to date, not being great. So like this is just very, very good. Having more accuracy. Everything is good with more accuracy. So really, really like this overall.
Sweet. Yeah, keep it coming. We'll definitely keep fixing these for sure.
Skins loadout. This is also good. Heard some complaints about people not understanding where like I just call them chromas. Like when you guys make the like the recolors of the base skin, I basically just call them chromas. So I think this is good to just like
that's how I know your background.
Yeah, it's like okay, so like where are these skins, chromas, whatever it is. I think this is good. I heard positive stuff about people at least being more aware of where they are, so that's really good overall. And then some bug fixes. And on the bug fixes, not specifically on the bug fixes, but this is where we kind of got some notes and questions around why there's so like little notes on bug fixes. Because people often can see and tell that there are things changed with bugs
that do get fixed.
Yeah, and like they're confused about like the information about, oh wait, this was fixed, but we didn't hear anything about it, and we needed to test ourselves to figure it out that it was fixed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've asked actually for our QA lead to start pulling some notable bugs. We fix actually a ton, but in terms of which ones are notable, sometimes it can be tough to be like, which ones would we actually want to list? If we listed all of them, I think this would be a novel. So I actually don't think it's probably the best idea. But as of this next set of patch notes, I literally worked on them day before. We pulled them yesterday. We did that for the first time, so we're actually listing a bunch this time around. So we'll keep doing that, and then let me know what you guys think. If you guys are like more, then I'll ask him to add a couple more too. But yeah.
Well, the only thing I hear about like everything that is more clarity and more information, people just like in general. So like the more they know, the more they see, and then it's also easier to know that, for example, if a bug got fixed and then you're not sure if it is or not, then you don't have to like keep saying like, but did you guys fix this? So then you need to test the game. So it's more about like being able to help you guys, as we talked about last time, wanting to just be able to give the best feedback possible to fix the most crucial bugs in general.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then Areta, I'm not English speaking. I don't know how to pronounce this word.
You're good. This is just also in the with the intent of if there were changes, to your point, that have gone live, but then we want to recognize them in patch notes. Gives me an opportunity to pull them in. I think, for example, the Saros aim laser being shown to enemies, that fix I think is live and didn't end up in the patch notes. So I'll probably put that in here too.
But yeah, on the last note, this is like some good quality of life changes as well for the mana reduction. We're kind of already at the bottom of the patch note because it was it's a quick little change. So we're on good pace of the schedule at least. We got some bonus stuff to kind of tie into this. One of the things is gonna be, of course, like the video that you kind of just posted like an hour ago, 2 hours ago. That kind of just like spawned upon us with a bunch of information. which is interesting. Let me just check my notes quick so I don't jump over anything. Yeah, so one question about like the idea of when you guys, for example, create hunters is like tying into the one coming, but also previously. Do you guys take into consideration the mode that it's being introduced into when you guys create a hunter? For example, like where hunters created for squads, or is it just created for the game where things will feel out differently? For example, Eva coming into trios but being created earlier, is that taken into consideration, or is it like, no, we just make the hunters for the sake of making the hunters for the game, not the mode?
I think BR is what we think about. I'll say that. I think whether it's trios or squads, we do talk about it. I would say the biggest example of that was actually Saros, where we're talking about this from a balance perspective of like how much value does he get from a portal when like there's 3 other players who can take advantage of it versus 2, that kind of stuff, where it's like, okay, how much value are they getting from their kit in that world? What we did see is that between squads and duos back in the day, there wasn't so much of a difference in some of the metas that we would see across the two. There were like systemic metas, like we did see like, but this was more around like how people recall and group together and use that potentially for ambushing or things like that. Less so on the like on the hunter effectiveness side. Generally, we would see most hunters being effective, or having different comps. In fact, I think in trios we're seeing pretty great hunter diversity for picks. And so yeah, I would say we talk about it from a balance perspective. We don't see a ton of new callouts now. I'd be curious if there are specific examples that you're thinking about for the new hunter edition.
The question that was brought up, or like the hunter that was brought up in that question was, for example, with Eva. So was Eva made for squads? How's the balance process had been for trios? And is there like
Eva, we talked about it less, because although I think you could make a similar argument of like, hey, when I have if I have any kind of supportive utility that I need to manage, how effective is that when I have one less person on my team? I think it's like a pretty similar argument. I think Eva, just from a power level standpoint, we just like missed the mark. Her win rate was like pretty bad when we launched her.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like I think now I can say this because and maybe the Eva players who played during this time and was still able to wreck others can take some level of pride on this on the other side. But you could have probably doubled her win rate, and she would have still been the lowest hunter at launch. And so yeah, we just messed up. And the reason why we were pretty and what's crazy is that we buffed her before she got in. So that was like the buffed version of Eva going in. So yeah, like I would say given her hard CC, we were anticipating her to be a lot stronger than she ended up being. And so yeah, I would say that's more of the misread, is less on the like, hey, we built her for maybe squads versus trios, and had way more to do with, hey, what tools have we given her? How much do we weight the power of those tools? And moving forward, where do we want to put our power budget? And so, yeah, obviously, I think even reflecting back on Eva, a lot of the power budget was also in things that needed to get bug fixed. So like the multi-hit problem with orbs and like the pathing and all of that was probably more effective for her to be like a good pick versus any specific, I don't know, scaling or tuning for any of that stuff. So yeah, that's how I would say we thought about it.
Well, appreciate the insight. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Another question, combining it in with like the game state of trios and things that have been like feeling different for squads and trios. One feedback that I got and one question on is tuning around healing when you knock somebody. that people feel like it is more oppressive now with less members on the team, the amount of healing you get when you knock a person. So balancing that out, and then a specific shout out to Shiv players that have their passive with their healing, and then like knocking somebody, being low and being full HP, feeling quite oppressive, specifically with her since she has a built-in healing on knock.
Still feels oppressive, yeah.
Yeah, so there's like, she gains a lot specifically for that, but then also like in general for all hunters, gaining a lot more healing when you are in a trio scenario versus a squad scenario, because you have it's very different to play a 3v4 than a 2v3. So.
Is it primarily the heal and not the dash? No one's mentioning the dash at all.
Well, if we do want to go all the way back, I don't know if you guys are really cool, but like people are still not happy about being able to like dash after Risa, because you kind of take away all of the ages of being able to punish somebody when you get a knock. So they jump in, they get a kill, they have a dash, and they get out for free. So the oppressiveness of not being able to counteract it is still there. So I don't know how you guys like stand, if it's still possible to revert that kind of a thing, but didn't want to push too much on that. But it's still like a topic for sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Understood. Yeah, the heal being more oppressive, at least for Shiv, I don't think we want hunters to, I mean, maybe I'll eat my words, but I don't feel like we want hunters to have like unique gains or advantages from this rule. Like I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of that depending on what kind of hunter you are, but I think that's a good call out for sure. We'll take a look at Shiv.
And then the question around the mechanic of the heal, is it supposed, like, is it meant to cleanse anti-heal? So for example, if you're anti-healed and you get a knock, then you heal through it. Is that like supposed to be? Like, we know the only source of being able to heal through anti-heal is the health pots. But when you knock somebody, you're anti-healed, you still get the heal. Is that meant to be? Or is it like...
That is intentional, but we could probably stand to communicate that better.
Like, for example, to give more counterplay to like, okay, somebody's going in, they're going to play for a reset, being able to try to anti-heal them to be able to stop off with them being able to heal from it.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but yeah, it is intentional that it.
And getting a specific call out here, kill heal doesn't work on lava anti-heal, by the way. So like, it's weird.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that's
that's a bug. Given what we just talked about, I wrote that down. Det K, they know the real. Okay, noted. I mean, I assume there was like a deeper point there. Is the call out also, hey, we would have enjoyed that counterplay?
Yeah, people want more counterplay because it feels like a lot of just free resets. Like, you get the heal, you get a dash, you kind of get out. There is not like, you can't punish people not having dash, you can't punish people being able to heal. So there's just a lot of free things you'd get for a knock. So the snowball aspect of getting on the first knock is very high.
Yeah, I think it could be. I think on one hand, it's like, it probably is more, there's like clear counterplay in that moment. I think probably the curse on the other side is like, not every hunter has anti-heal. So you're not really giving that option to everybody. And then as a person who gets the knock, being like, why didn't my heal go off? Can feel really surprising. So I don't think it's a free change for those reasons. But I think I think the overall point is helpful.
Yeah, for sure, because it goes both ways. When you anti-heal somebody and they heal through it, it kind of feels weird, like, but isn't he not supposed to heal? And then like having like, what's the rules for anti-heal in general?
Right.
So it is a conundrum, but we'll bring it up anyway.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
Alright, cool. Then from list from the Discord is thinning down. Video that dropped today. That was a lot of information as well. The game, I think from a lot of people, is dropping a lot earlier than what people expected. Also personally, I had some theories of when I thought it was gonna be releasing. Like
Really?
we didn't get like a confirmation. So you guys can maybe like shed a light on
I
like.
do have the date, but I can't say the
Yeah,
date
what-
today.
Yeah, that's as much I can tell. So at least the personal theory, I want to bring up the personal theory to hear like because people are a little bit confused by like the late summer, like what is regarded as late summer. So my personal theory was that we were gonna have 3 acts, like it's gonna be close to like winter, where we have the first act, we're gonna have this one act, well, this is gonna be like end of June, and then there's gonna be a new arc, and then after that arc, it's gonna release. So the question there's two questions. Can you confirm that the release is after the 3rd arc? And then the second question is like how
cannot confirm that.
Damn it. Okay. And then the second question is more so for like how the season will work. As you're releasing the game this year, are you guys keeping the like season per year structure? So it'll be like kind of like a pre-season into season 1, or like season 1 starting next year?
Yeah, I think we are talking about maybe doing a preseason beforehand.
So like
So
you'll
we'll-
keep like the like season 2 year, like season 0 will be 2025, and then season 1 will be 2026 kind of vibe, or?
I think we're going to clean up the terminology because seasons and arcs used to be two different cadences. So we were going to have arcs be or seasons be longer, and then
Yeah.
arcs kind of there's like multiple arcs in a season, and that way arcs were kind of focused on like what the new content drops are going to be, and then the season was really just truly like, hey, the start of the ranked season and the end of the ranked season, and then you kind of understand, okay, cool, like I understand, you know, I need to get my rank up until this time before the reset. Since then, it's actually been helpful to have shorter seasons. So now the range of a season, the length of a season is the same as the length of an arc. And so at that point, I'm like, why do we even have 2 terms? So we have been talking about like, hey, should we just call them seasons? And so that might be what we go forward with. So I won't. I would say we'll probably stick with the same time frame of a season moving forward. So like 3 months is what we got to for both a season and an arc, and we'll probably match the 2. Now timing, I can't mention timing because if I could, I would have put it in the video. I really wanted to put it in the video, but there's a bunch of reasons why we can't do it in the video. Yeah, we will confirm the date. I don't think you'll be waiting that long. So yeah.
Okay. So the second then follow up with the video and general stuff is the talk of hunters. Previously, you talked about having 1 hunter release for each month up until release. Is that still the case, or was this now changed because there was confusion about the video that you guys were pulling content?
Right.
Is the hunters thing still sticking, or what was like the?
That's the biggest change. That's the biggest change. So we'll be working on a hunter a month, but we won't be releasing them for these next few months, and we will be launching them with 1.0.
Oh, okay. So it's like a bulk release.
That's right.
For example, just for the sake of it, if the game were to release in September, just for like, just to see how you react, will then like since we're getting this like this, so the next hunter is gonna be the May hunter, technically, right? So then the June, the July, and August hunter, the 3 hunters will then all be released on the release
at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. That is hype, at least. That I think that helps a lot.
We'll probably
stagger. Like,
yeah, I think we're gonna stagger them a little bit from each other, but they will all be. You'll feel them basically coming out around the same time. Yeah.
But the other question is, will then the patch notes still have the same cadence? Will it still be every 2 weeks, or will that also change?
Yeah, we are going to do a patch every 2 weeks. That will still continue. The show will go on. We will be focusing on balance, bug fixing, and performance. So those are going to be the main stuff. And so we'll still get patch notes. We'll still be able to talk about all of this stuff. And more of the focus will be on that. And then as we continue on, maybe we'll have some teasers to the 1.0 launch. But yeah, patches will continue on. Yeah.
Then probably I think it's lost from the video at least. teasers about NDA test, like more closed door test. Previously, when we had a chat, you guys were kind of against the NDA aspect of test. You kind of like didn't like it. Now we're pulling back for it. Is it like a very specific reason why we're pulling back and looking more for these hidden secrets? Is it more for like the reveal of the game, or because of the thing that you guys are testing?
Yeah, so we are going to update the creator program. We're probably going to make that a lot more closed and start sharing some of the content that we are preparing for 1.0. It is because of the nature of the changes. Like, I think we want to, one, give great incentives to creators to be able to see an early look and actually be able to reward folks for kind of creating content, as opposed to it just kind of being like, hey, this information kind of floats around, and I think we want to give the most value to the people who are really investing back into the game. So that's kind of the idea on the creator part. And then I think for the content itself, or the features that we're testing, they're big enough that we think that it's worth it being like a full reveal to get the maximum impact. What we found with kind of releasing some of these things, I think I even mentioned this last time, there were folks who were like, oh, I saw this like last year. And I'm like, yeah, because you were part of the playtesting group. Like, we're here to like get good quality feedback and iterate on these changes. And we may or may not be iterating in the specific area that we want, but we do read all that feedback. We do make changes based off of that feedback. But it doesn't mean that like, hey, now there's more content for that specific playtesting group that no one has seen before. And so I think some of that kind of stunted the excitement that some of that group had. And so what we'd like to do is just really do a proper reveal for some of these things, so that folks can feel that excitement. And I think that's going to be true for the hunters too, which I'm pretty excited about.
Now, if we can get potentially one safe leaked out of it today.
I feel like I already have. I feel like this happens every single time, and then okay.
No,
what do you
this
want
one for real?
Okay.
What people like, the people, they want to know.
Okay.
Will there be a tank in the release bunch of the hunters coming? Will we get a big beefy boy, girl, something that will be a frontliner that can like dabble with the oaths? Can we get a dabbler?
There is a hunter in the works who can take a lot of damage. Yes, but I will not say anything more.
Okay, we tried at least. I appreciate it. So, we kind of go through at least the patch. It was short. We got through some bonus information with the video that dropped today. We still have like approximately 9 minutes before we have to drop you off, but I promised the people to drop a lot of questions in chat where you can kind of just choose and wreck, where people can go wild like with any questions they feel like asking before we have to leave Safelocked for this time. So if you guys have any questions, now is the time. See, one interesting one here. Will there be splash shards for hunters and skin?
We always invest more in our 3D, so I don't anticipate us doing. We focus on our portraits and our 3D, so that's probably not. I mean, maybe we'll do something for the promo art for 1.0 TBD, but I think what we'll probably actually do. We're working on more of like a video style thing. So yeah, I would say mostly investing in 3D for now.
Interesting. I'm gonna try to scroll a little bit here. You can just choose like if you see something interesting. I'm getting pinged for some stuff.
Okay. New Hunter is called that, but I think someone else safe leaked that. I know who it is.
The name of the hunter?
I did see that.
There might have been a little creator Discord leak on that front.
This is why we gotta. Let's see. There's a jellyfish dash reset mechanic. It's not supposed to work on every hunter. It should. You talking about the little orb that comes out after the jellyfish dies? You can send me a report later, and then I'll take a look at it. Let's see what else is in here.
You wanna bring up the Bebo 1% again? We had a talk about this earlier.
Oh, is Bebo 1% actually 1%? It's 1% in my heart.
Is there any way to get the real percentage number?
Maybe if I don't know, maybe I'll set a goal for us, and if we hit some arbitrary goal, I'll share the real numbers for Bebo 1%.
I think that goal will be the goal will be met very quickly. I think.
Maybe after 1.0, we'll set a 1.0 goal, and then I'll share the real Bebo 1%. What else? Any plans for Felix? We're talking about Felix. I think Felix is the reason we're focusing more of our time on Hudson, making sure Jewel feels good in the combat model, because I've heard some Jewel sadness, and I think we want to treat her right. And I'm thinking about Jin too. Felix is also on the list, but I think Felix is tougher. I think there's a lot of things people like Felix makes like about Felix, but I do think it can be hard to appreciate what he's doing, especially with like the different levels of night and things like that. And so, and his level of like how much he focuses on flamethrower versus how much he kind of gets into the fray. So yeah, I think there's some identity sharpening specifically with Felix we'd want to do, but I think it'll make half of the Felix players sad and the other half happy. So yeah, if you have thoughts on what you want from Felix, I'd be interested. We don't want to touch him until there's like a clear path forward. That makes sense. Bug fixes when all the time. We're fixing bugs all the time. I think I mentioned this. I think we want to do something where we're like pulling like the top, maybe most requested community bugs and fixing those for like maybe even per hunter. I'd be pretty interested in that. And I think we're close to a resolution on how we want to maybe pull those from folks. So yeah, look out for something there. Probably in the Discord. And then a Luna ult rework.
Remember to bug report.
Guys, are you Simon? Did you even like the Meteor one? I don't know if I've ever been happy with.
The Meteor one was not really like a support ult. Like if people.
Yeah, that was also weird too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I am a certified Luna enjoyer, though. I actually love the current Luna ult, but I know that's hotly debated. So, we have talked about different shapes of the current ult, which maybe we'll be interested in try. I will say, once you start making skins for hunters, it makes the cost of some of these reworks go up. So I'm trying to be pretty precise on focusing on the ones that really hurt. So yeah, and let's see. Is Oath going to get changes in numbers or kit design? I mentioned the bee hopping is probably we looked at bee hopping for this next patch, so you should. I don't know if folks Oath players are going to be happy, but I think everyone else might be happy. I saw a clip where he was like literally catching a train with his own bee hopping, and I was like, oh no. So
they can't complain. It's the most broken hunter in the game anyway. It's fine.
So we're definitely addressing some of that stuff. I think without some of his bee hopping tech, we did want to give him some mobility back because it's going to be tough without it. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, check out the patch and then you let me know what you think. Yeah, I think I did. Can I ask why she lost the iframe on the Jewel Dash in the first place? I mean, I think it was primarily to make her more conversational. I think there's a lot of frustration around fighting against Jewel. I think that's the start and end of it. But I do think it makes Jewel a little sad, and this is why we're looking at Jewel as like what should her archetype look like, or her kit look like. We're trying like a bunch of things right now in her rework, so yeah. I think also like the escapability with her ult, like there's just like a lot of tools we've given her over the past, and I think we should probably just decide which one of the things we want to allow to be sharp and then pull back on the rest. So yeah. Anyways, we're testing a bunch right now. I think Jewel will feel better after this next push. And will future hunters receive unique dashes again? I don't know if this is...
Will the new hunter have a unique dash?
Yes, actually. I would say their dash is unique. Are there plans for ranked limits reset and how to avoid veteran players ruining new player experiences for 1.0? I mean, that's honestly a big reason why ranked is now behind the account level gate, because I don't want new players to be going into ranked games with that. That was like probably one of the biggest changes that I was looking forward to. I actually have gotten a lot of good feedback around that specifically. So that's one. And then I think the second one that we're talking about is with a lot of the systemic changes that we're making, I think, yeah, it makes me think of ideas on how we could do ranked in the future. I'm not going to go too much into that because we haven't even tested some of the ideas that we're talking about for ranked. But yeah, at the very least, gating ranked is probably the most important, and most people are in ranked, so I think that's also good. And then yeah, actually on that note, for queue time, Sinoid, I have gotten some good notes around like people feeling like they wouldn't mind being in higher queue times. I will say that we do see like pretty correlated, like if your queue times are higher, you're likely not waiting that long at this point. But yeah, so I know you would. I know there are people who would wait longer. I think we could probably do that with, again. I wish I could. There's something that we're working on that I think will make
this is a safe space. I want you
reasonable. To know. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is
definitely.
A safe space.
I do feel safe. But yeah, I think I would feel more comfortable with that. So just to say it, I am thinking about potentially increasing queue times. We'll see. Yeah, but I'm actually open to it now. I'm more open to it now than I was before. It's 2-1. I gotta go.
I was about to say, do we have a last question we can get answered before we have to get you out?
What's the last one?
I see a lot of arena questions. Any thoughts on arena? Anything you guys plan for arena?
A lot of the systems that we're working on, we're thinking about it for BR and arena, and so I do think that arena will have a lot more texture with these changes too. Unfortunately, that's all I feel like I can say. My hope is that we can do some creator tests, and that might be pretty interesting too. So I'll take a note of that actually. But yeah, we are thinking about arena. I gotta go.
Appreciate it. It's been a good chat, a little bit short chat, but we'll keep this going for the coming patches as always. Appreciate you taking the time and going out, but you have a lovely rest of your day, and then I'll see you around.
Appreciate the time. Appreciate all of you guys. See you later.
All right. Bye. Peace.
Bye.